Hey guys, so this video is going to be a little bit different from the ones I've shared with you before. I'm on my way to pick up a box of coral that just arrived from Bali. It's been a long flight for them, so I'm heading to my local airport to pick them up and bring them to their new home. Before I get to showing you what I ordered, let me first start off by telling you the story of how I got to this point. A few months ago, I took a trip to Bali for a nice week-long vacation. While there, I connected with Tony from AJC Coral Imports, who I first met through a mutual friend of the industry. He's been living there for a while now and was nice enough to ask me if I would be interested in getting a tour of a coral farm. Unbeknownst to me at the time, this wasn't just any farm, it was the largest farm in Bali. The name of the farm was ReefMaster, owned by Chandra, who is also owner of another coral farm in Jakarta, which is the largest in all of Indonesia. It's not often a reef hobbyist gets an opportunity like this, so without hesitation, I said yes. The ReefMaster farm was in a remote part of Bali, so it did take about an hour and a half to get there from my hotel. That wasn't a problem though, because along the way I was also able to do some sightseeing, which was a nice bonus. Soon enough, we arrived and were greeted by very elegant looking gates, which led us into the farm area. Before walking into the coral facility, Tony introduced me to the team that managed the coral photography, sales, and logistics. Right after that, I headed into the coral farm with Tony and Chandra. This was the moment I've been waiting for. Upon walking into the building, I was in awe. The sheer size of their operation was amazing. There were rows upon rows of tanks, all filled up with coral. If I had to guess, I'd say there must have been at least 10,000 pieces in here. It was at this moment that I truly felt like a kid in a candy store. As I mentioned earlier, ReefMaster has two locations, one in Bali and another in Jakarta, which is Indonesia's largest coral farm. They ship corals to all regions of the world and get in new pieces at least 3 to 4 times per week during their peak season. These pieces are held onto for at least 4 weeks for close monitoring before they're put up for sale. Each raceway tank in their facility serves a purpose. New corals are placed in certain tanks, then steadily moved to other tanks as they adapt to the new environment, eventually making their way to the for sale tanks. As for how they maintain such a large-scale operation, hearing about it was very interesting. Because they have the ocean literally in their backyard, they bring in water and hold about 3,000 gallons in their storage tanks. That water is then used for daily water changes, which are necessary because of the large volume of corals they are exporting. At times, they even go as far as emptying entire rows for a deep cleaning, only to be started again from scratch. For equipment, they keep their setup low-tech. They do run large pumps, large skimmers, and plenty of chillers to maintain the temperature. For lighting, they run custom LED fixtures which were designed by ReefMaster. Overall, they didn't need any complex equipment setup. With the ocean being right outside, they don't have to worry about dosing or other responsibilities that average hobbyists have to consider. Alright, enough with the talk. For now, enjoy the eye candy. So after looking at all these corals, I just had to ask Tony if it'd be possible for me to pick some pieces and have them sent to me. He said yes. That was music to my ears. Knowing full well that my tank was already packed with coral, I just had to do some coral shopping. I figured shop now and figure out the rest later. Tony, Chandra, and his team were more than accommodating throughout the entire experience. Because there were so many pieces to look at, it was actually challenging to pick just a few. Even with me being a huge fan of acros, I was actually enticed to pick out a few LPS coral in the process. After picking out my pieces, they were placed off to the side to sit for a few more weeks until they were ready to ship. Alright, so that was the backstory. Now you know what led up to this point and how I ended up at the airport picking up a box of coral. After a few months wait, the time has come to finally pick up the corals and bring them to their new home. Once I got back to the house, it was time to unbox everything, inspect the pieces, and begin the acclimation process. In the end, I picked out 10 pieces and only had one acro that was DOA. Considering the distance they had to travel, I wasn't upset about the loss. After unpacking, I opened up all the bags and put the coral in the styro box that it came in. Afterwards, I got started on acclimating the corals and gave them some time to settle. Every few minutes, I took out some water and let the tank water continue filling the styro. After about half hour, I took them out and put them into their new home. So these are the pieces I ended up getting. As per usual, they are mostly acros. I did end up getting 2 LPS coral. One was a Holy Grail torch and another was this super unique Arina. Initially I couldn't get a good shot of those pieces, but I'll show you what they looked like after a few days of being in the tank. When I was picking out pieces, I wanted to choose ones that I haven't seen in a while. Being that they just came in, the colors aren't 100% there, but with enough time and some stable parameters, I'm hoping to pull them back to how they were when I first saw them at the farm. Where exactly I'm going to put these, I am not sure. I'm thinking about redoing a part of the left side of the tank. Maybe I'll sell off a few pieces I already had to make some room for the new ones. So now that the corals have been settling in for the past week, it was time to find spots for where I can place them. In the end, I didn't end up selling off any of my existing pieces, although that may still happen. The Holy Grail torch I decided to put right behind my other green torch because I did want to add some more movement to this side of the tank. It's still settling in, so that's why its tentacles are on the thin side. After another week or so, it should start to look fluffier. The deepwater Loani Acro I decided to mount right next to the red dragon because this area is getting a constant blast of gentle flow that deflects off of the glass. The little green Sarmant Toosa Acro is still sitting on the sandbed. This one, I'm not sure where exactly I'll put it, but for now it seems happy where it's placed. A little closer to the back, you can see the new orange and green Trilia piece. I decided to put that one in between the rocks since those tend to prefer steadier flow anyways. Now, this piece was the gem I spotted at the farm. In my years of being in the hobby and having worked at different local fish stores, I've never come across a Arina like this one. It's hard to capture the true colors on it, but to the eye it has a whole variety of colors, from different shades of reds to greens and even yellows. The larger tenuous colony I ended up keeping high up because I know these kind of pieces love to get blasted by the light. It was labeled as a rainbow tenuous, but I'll see with time how it does over the next couple months. Maybe I can pull more than the blue and the purple out of it. These other 2 pieces, which were labeled as MicroLados, I decided to keep higher up in the tank because honestly I didn't have anywhere else to put them. I'm hoping the flow that's coming off of the GHL Versia stream will be enough to keep it happy. In the end, I'm thinking I'll need to add a second one of those because of how crowded the tank is getting. The last piece is an Acropora. Considering how much flow these pieces like and how I already have a small group of millies on the right side of the tank, I figured that this was a good place for it. To get this piece here, I did have to chop up the majority of my Miyagi Tor colony. It was taking up a lot of space anyway and growing like a weed. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. But before I sign off, I just want to give a huge thank you to Tony from AJC Coral Imports, Chandra from ReefMaster, and the ReefMaster Bali team who made this whole experience a very memorable one. Thanks guys for tuning in. If you like what you saw today, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Until next time, take care.